I'm Dan Snow. Welcome to Voices of the First World War. In the years leading up to the centenary of the war, the last of those who actually experienced it have passed away. But the Imperial War Museums and the BBC had recorded interviews with many veterans to try to capture what it was like to actually be there. This series listens to those stories.
On the night of June the 30th and July the 1st, going up, I remember, I'm sure it was that night, there was a terrific big red moon. And it struck me as, I can't explain, it was a peculiar feeling.
It never can be seen again, I don't think, never, or felt.
The thing was that you had to be a fatalist, and you wondered whether you'd be alive at night. They often said, if it's got your name and address on it, it'll find you. So what's the use of worrying? And you hope for the best.
The Somme. The dying days of a hot June, 1916.
We said, how do you think things will go, sir? He said, nothing to do. He said, all the division's got to do is to go over the top. He said, there's no boss there. We've cleared them all away, and we should have no opposition whatever.
Well, I think we were all very young and optimistic. I took it for granted that the wire would be cut, that we would massacre the Boche in their front line, get to our objective, and then be told to do something else next day. But my whole feeling was that now we're starting to move forward. And I think we were all very optimistic.
He told us about the big attack that was coming. There'd be no Germans left to combat us when we got over there. The guns would blaze day and night for a whole week. He said, and to give you an idea how many guns we shall use, he said, if you place them wheel to wheel, they would stretch from the English Channel to the Alps. You see? That's what he said.
June 23rd. The British bombardment of the German lines begins.
The batteries were being piled in, and night after night, as soon as it fell dark, the roads were roaring with the traffic going up and the guns going into position, and this enormous feeling of a build-up of a big offensive, you know. We were 15 miles behind the lines, and the day was peaceful, deserted. There wasn't a thing on the road. Nothing might have happened. As soon as dusk came, it started, and it went right through the night, you know, and our billets were right on the road, and the noise of this, really one had a tremendous feeling of war and what it meant in those moments.
For 7 days and nights, we were under incessant bombardment. Day and night the shells, heavy and light ones, came upon us. Our dugouts crumbled, fell upon us, and we had to dig ourselves and our comrades out. Sometimes we found them suffocated, sometimes smashed to pulp.
As the days wore by and we got nearer and nearer to the 0 hour of the Somme offensive, the bombardment increased. It was a sort of crescendo. And our patrols got closer and closer. We kept really a steady patrol all day to see what was happening.
7 days and 7 nights. Soldiers in the bunkers became hysterical. They wanted to run out, and fights developed to keep them in the comparative safety of our deep bunkers. Even the rats became hysterical. They came into our flimsy shelters to seek refuge from this terrific artillery fire. 7 days and 7 nights, we had nothing to eat, nothing to drink, but constantly fire, shell after shell burst upon us.
July the 1st. Sunrise.
I got up at dawn in the morning. I was acting adjutant of my battalion on the morning of the 1st of July, and I went up to take to my command post. in the trenches from which we could see over the country between Gommecourt and Serre. And when I got there, here were messages coming in from the front companies to say that they were all in order and that everything was right. We tested our lines back to the artillery, and I can only say that I have never been so excited in my life.
At about 5 in the morning, the barrage started, and we all went out in the trench to watch this. It gradually increased until at 7 o'clock it was absolutely intense. The guns were literally, our guns were wheel to wheel behind us.
And the only thing to look at was the panorama in front. And there were shells bursting in great succession, very frequently, just like a row of beads. From the right to left, left to right, up and down on the left-hand side and down and up on the right-hand side. Over an immense area of about 4 square miles, I should think.
And we could see the dirt and the sandbags all dancing up and down. And then you could turn about like this, and all along our skyline you would see flashes.
The sun came out, and the sun was soon obliterated by the smoke. Everything was covered over by smoke, even the sun disappeared.
We were up at about 8,000 feet, and really it was a fantastic sight because when the hurricane bombardment started, every gun we had, and there were thousands of them, had all been let loose at once, you know, and the thing was a wild, I mean, you could hear the roar of the guns above the noise of the aircraft like almost like rain on a pane, you know. Extraordinary, this roll of thousands of guns at the same time.
And the noise rose to a crescendo such as I'd never heard before, for which we, for the first time, used the word drumfire. A noise which made all bombardments that we'd heard in the previous days seem like nothing at all. And the effect of the bombardment created a sort of hysterical feeling.
We sat down crouching in the shallow, narrow trench, almost shoulder to shoulder. I was next to the officer and got him something out of his own haversack because he could not turn round to the back. And he said very shortly, only 5 minutes to go.
And then suddenly the whole earth heaved, and up from the ground came what really looked more like 2 enormous cypress trees, the silhouettes of great dark cone-shaped lifts of earth up to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 feet, and we watched this, and then a moment later, of course, we struck the repercussion wave of the blast, and it flung us right away backwards.
We felt it go. We knew it was going, and we felt it go.
What sort of noise did it make?
It wasn't a great big bang like a big gun. Oh no, it was more deadly than that.
7:25, we blew a mine, which should have been under the German trenches at Birmingham, but wasn't. It was in no man's land. And that gave the Germans 5 minutes to occupy the crater, which they did.
Were you nervous about the prospects of going into attack?
No. No, it didn't get through, I don't think. Well, we were like a lot of lambs, sheep. We did as we were told, we didn't think.
Before the attack, you couldn't move in those trenches. You was that packed with men, grumbling and grousing, and some trying to be brave and joking, and then it goes quiet. It's time to go, and all it goes quiet, really.
I do remember just before we were mounting, we were there in the trench. We got the ladders there ready, and there was a sergeant, and he got the DCM, and I saw him. He had a piece of earth, clay, and I saw him going like that with it,
rubbing it between his fingers.
Yes, you know, I could see that he was anxious. So I was young and I was apprehensive, expecting to be killed. I mean, whether you're attacking or not, when you're in the front line, it can happen.
You were nervous then?
Yes.
But to see so many men exposed to the same danger give you a feeling of not being so afraid.
You mean you were all in the same boat?
Yes.
Did some of the men show their nerves?
Yes.
How?
One chap shot himself through the hand, one of my friends.
While you were waiting to go over?
Yes. He just said, I'm not going over.
So he shot himself through the hand.
Oh.
Did anyone report him? Because that was an offence, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did anyone report him?
Oh. I was astounded because he's such a brave man.
All his previous conduct had been...
Very, very brave.
And the bombardment was continuing throughout?
Yes.
Was it deafening at that time?
Yes, very much so.
7:30 a.m. 0 hour. Over the top.
At 0, I sent back a message to brigade headquarters to say that we were all ready and were going to deliver our smoke cloud. And then we could see the outburst of smoke and gas from our front line, blowing in the right direction towards the Germans. And then somebody shouted, "There they go!"
And they knew we were coming. They had time to rush up from their dugouts, they'd practiced that probably, and man their machine gun posts.
I say this, that Jerry knew every bit as much about the 1st of July as we did. He knew exactly the minute we were going over the top. He knew it was our turn at 7:30 a.m. on the 1st of July. And he just came out then, that's all.
The leading troops went over at 7:30. Well, I saw that attack starting from Beaumont Hamel right away up to Teep-Bar and over the ridge. And it was, to me, an astonishing sight, a line of British troops, fixed bayonets, walking quite steadily behind the barrage. It was a sight I shall never forget.
The very moment the British artillery fire was directed against the reserve positions, machine gunners, German machine gunners, crawled out of the bunkers, dirty, full of blood from the blood of their fallen comrades, and opened up terrific fire.
And then his whistle went, and everyone went up the scaling ladders and through the holes in the front of the trench and formed up in line outside, rifles across the front of us, and started the move forward towards the enemy line.
They helped us up a homemade ladder. We walked along a bit.
Were you under a lot of fire?
Oh my God. The ground in front was just like heavy rain, like stair carpets. That was machine gun bullets.
When I stepped on top of our trench, it's partly blown down, you know, and I'm just stepping on top, and there's a corporal lying there. All here was blown away, you know.
And I looked over to the left, and here were the London Scottish, who were on our left, running forward across the 300 or 400 yards of green grass between our village and Gomcourt Wood. And then they vanished into the smoke. And then there was nothing left but noise. And after this, we saw nothing and we knew nothing. And we lived in a world of noise, and simply noise, for hours.